Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. It is a Wednesday, the second day of April, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. China-Taiwan tension escalates, and the Philippine Armed Forces Chief General Romeo Browner orders Northern Luzon Command to prepare for a potential Taiwan invasion. President Bongbong Marcos' cabinet members will skip Senate hearings on Duterte's arrest. Senator Amy questions the move, calling it inconsistent with prior presidential statements. And Myanmar earthquake death toll is expected to exceed 3,000. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. The tension between China and Taiwan has escalated on a new level, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff General Romeo Browner Jr. has directed the Northern Luzon Command to prepare for a potential invasion of Taiwan. Browner urged the command to expand its operations, stressing that if conflict erupts, the Philippines will inevitably be affected. He also emphasized that NOLCOM would lead rescue efforts for 250,000 OFWs in Taiwan if hostilities arise. Geopolitical analyst Don McLean-Hill weighed in on the issue, saying that any developments in Taiwan will directly impact the security interests of the Philippines. This comes amid escalating tensions in the Taiwan Strait, with China conducting large-scale military drills around Taiwan.
NOLCOM is our frontliner here in the Northern Hemisphere. And as we saw a while ago, in their shift to territorial defense, they have gone a long way already. But let me give you this challenge, this further challenge. Do not be content with securing just the Northern Hemisphere up to Mavulis Island. Start planning for actions in case there is an invasion of Taiwan. Okay? So extend na natin yung sphere of operations natin.
By virtue of geography, our treaty alliance with the United States, and of course the presence of over 200,000 OFWs in Taiwan, whatever takes place there would have direct ramifications for our security interests. What the Philippines is doing right now is crucial. What the military is doing is crucial. What the Coast Guard is doing is crucial, and would require more continuity and consistent political will. Because clearly, when we look into China's behavioral pattern, it would not stop from Taiwan, right? It would not stop just by overtaking Taiwan. It would continue as it pushes forward.
A petition before the Supreme Court urges Congress to pass a law banning political dynasties. The Isang Bayan coalition, led by retired Justice Antonio Carpio, filed the petition for certiorari and mandamus along with other advocates. They want the court to order Congress to enact a law within 1 year, in line with Article 2, Section 26 of the Constitution. The petitioners argue that Congress has ignored its constitutional duty by failing to pass an anti-dynasty law for nearly 4 years.
We are not the only ones. No, we are the third group that has filed a petition, and we are hoping. They say that the Congress is the purse, the executive is the sword, and the Supreme Court is the conscience of the nation. So, such having, it's time for the Supreme Court to come forward with something that it's a mandate of Congress, which they have not done for 38 years.
Members of President Bongbong Marcos' cabinet will no longer attend Senate hearings on former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said they must decline the invitation but remain open to cooperating through other legal channels. According to Bersamin, cabinet officials had already provided information during the March 20 hearing. Bersamin also noted 4 Supreme Court petitions on Duterte's arrest and warned that further discussions could violate the sub judice rule. Senator Amy called the Senate hearing last March as chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, saying many questions remain unanswered. She expressed surprise over the cabinet's decision, calling it inconsistent with the president's previous statements.
Nagulat naman ako. Kaya sabi ko sa kanila, may sulat ako sa kanila, baka naman ma-reconsider nila kasi sayang naman ang pagkakataon, maririnig ng tao kung ano talaga nangyari. Kung nagkamali ako, tatanggapin ko naman at mas maganda yung nagkakaliwanagan kasi pag hindi sumisipot, ang duda ng tao may tinatago. Umaasa pa rin ako dun sa sinabi ni Presidente na hindi daw pagbabawal, pero liwaliwanag ng sulat, bawal. Hindi sila a-attend.
Meanwhile, the family of former President Rodrigo Duterte was able to visit him at the ICC detention center. Let's get more details on that from Mon Gualvez, who joins us live from The Hague in Netherlands. So good morning to you, Mon. What's the latest from there? How was the visit of the family of the former president?
Hi, Gretchen. Good morning. Yesterday was the first time again after few days na walang bumisita na kamag-anak ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa ICC Detention Center here in The Hague, Netherlands. At first time din na nagkasabay-sabay or nagkasunod-sunod yung mga magkakamag-anak. Una, dumating si Vice President Sara Duterte, and then few minutes after, sumunod naman na dumating si Hanelet Avancenia, ang common law wife ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, and then followed by na tumatakbo papasok sa loob ng detention center ang kanyang anak na si Veronica Kitty Duterte. Tumagal din ng halos 2 oras yung kanilang bisita. This is not usual. Mas mahaba ito kumpara sa mga nakalipas na araw. Nung tanungin natin kung bakit ganito kahaba at bakit ganito katagal yung kanilang visit sa loob, nagkaroon daw ng something na hindi nila kontrolado sa loob ng ICC Detention Center na hindi sila ang dahilan. So nagkataon lang na talagang naapektuhan din yung kanilang oras ng visit, kaya naman pinagbigyan sila na humaba yung kanilang stay. Kaya naman bagay na pinagpapasalamat din nila dahil mas naging mahaba nga rin yung kanilang bonding, ika nga. No? During the visit, talaga nagkaroon ng moment na magkakwentuhan at talagang in high spirit, in good spirit daw, according to Kitty, ang kanyang ama na si dating Pangulong Duterte. Plus, dito nga rin sa visit na ito, nagkaroon ng parang at least mas malalim na bonding. Vice President Sara even admitted na ironically, she is actually thanking the President Bongbong Marcos dahil daw sa nangyaring ito, and mas nagkaroon daw sila ng father-daughter bonding dahil daw mula ng pagkabata niya talagang lumaki siya na busy itong si dating Pangulong Duterte in terms of work and in terms of serving the country. So ngayon lang daw sila talaga nagkaroon ng mas mahabang usapan dahil nga during this time nagsabi na rin ng family Duterte na they will not speak about legal matters kay dating Pangulong Duterte except for the lawyers. No? So sila, ang pwede nang nila pag-usapan daw kapag kausap si dating Pangulo ay anything basta hindi legal matters. Isa rito sa mga parang naging kondisyones daw ni Attorney Nicholas Kaufman, ang lead legal counsel ng kampo ni dating Pangulo. Gretchen.
Hindi pwede mag-usap ng legal matters dahil ba yan sa surveillance? Kasi parang alam ko, nire-record, no? Yung bawat bisita ng family. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that aspect. How's that going?
Oo, una, well, kasi nga parang may allotted time din naman for the legal, for the lawyers na kausap si dating Pangulo Duterte. Plus, gusto talaga nila na kumbaga at least ma-focus yung mga usapin kapag usapang legal sa kanyang mga abogado lamang at saka iniiwasan na magsalita ang mga kamag-anak na tungkol nga daw sa proseso ng itinatakbo ng kaso para hindi din naman daw sila magkaiba-iba technically ng kanilang mga sinasabi. So when we ask actually Vice President Sara Duterte if what's the update with regard to the interim release of the former president, she actually admitted na wala siyang idea how will that go, no? Yung pinaka pagpapalaya pansamantala or pagpapauwi sa Pilipinas kay dating Pangulo. So she leave it up to Attorney Kaufman, pero ang sinasabi nga niya, kung siya daw talaga tatanungin, alam niya na magiging delikado for her father na umuwi sa Pilipinas, pero at the end of the day, the client yung pang masusunod, no? At ang gusto ng client makauwi sa Pilipinas, particular sa Davao City. Gretchen.
Yesterday, you said that they were in the finishing touches of the forming the legal team. Did the VP Sara give an update on that?
Yes, actually, we also asked that, no? At isa yan daw sa hinahantay din naman talaga ni VP Sara dito sa The Hague na makumpleto yung documents. Ibig sabihin, yung documents na magko-confirm sa ICC, sa mga legal team na makukumpleto at mabubuo nga dito sa kampo ng mga Duterte. At she admitted as well na hindi pa kompleto, hindi pa tapos yung legal team ng Duterte camp, pero hindi na niya binanggit no kung ilan at kung sino pa ang mga inaantay, lalo't ang nag-aasikaso daw nito ay si Attorney Kaufman. Tinanong din natin kung si Attorney Harry Roque ba, the former presidential spokesperson, will be part of the said team. Hindi na niya ma-confirm dahil it will be up to Attorney Kaufman plus his father, her father, kung makakasama nga ba si Attorney Roque dito sa kampo nila.
Okay, it's been 3 weeks that the Vice President has been there, has been spending time there. Did she give any word on when she will be returning, and also family members that are up to replace her there? Sabi niya magro-ronda sila.
Yes, parang magre-relyebo, no, or magro-ronda nga yung nabanggit mo, ang family members, particularly yung mga magkakapatid. Yung pag-uwi ni Vice President Sara, she didn't give confirmation on what specific date she will go back to the Philippines, pero ang sinasabi nga niya, iniintay pa rin kasi niya yung dokumento para nga siguro makumpleto muna itong legal team ng kanilang kampo. Habang yung pagrelyebuhan ng mga magkakapatid, Kitty actually said this, na they are already in communication with her brothers, no, si Mayor Baste at saka si Congressman Paulo, na pupunta rin at talaga magpapalitan sila, pero walang confirmation yet kung kailan, lalo't busy itong dalawa sa pangangampanya rin sa lokal. Pero one thing is for sure, there will be a children or of former president na makakasama pa rin niya sa The Hague.
Pag nakita po natin yung video sa na piniplay, no, mukhang magkasama si Sara, VP Sara, at saka si Kitty Duterte. Is that correct? Were they able to get inside all together? We do know that there is some sort of animosity, or there might have been some animosity between VP Sara and also Hanilet Avancenia. So, magkakasama sila talaga pumasok doon?
Oo, actually we are also surprised na magkakasunod sila pumasok pero magkakasama na silang lumabas. During the interview, ayan, nakikita ninyo, no, magkatabi talaga si Sara, si VP Sara rather, at saka si Kitty na humarap sa media. At saka sinasabi din ni VP Sara na hindi lang daw father-daughter bonding ang pinakanabuo dito, kundi nagkaroon din sila ng mas mahabang communication and bonding as well with her sister, one and only sister na si Kitty. Nakaroon biruan, no, dahil isa doon sa mga napag-usapan doon, yung pagkakaroon ng boyfriend ni Kitty, at ang biro pa nga ni dating Pangulong Duterte, mukhang kailangan ko talaga umuwi ng Pilipinas para makilala yung boyfriend na yan. Pero again, these are somehow jokes between among the families, pero yun, isa yung sa mga shinare nila na talaga mas naging bonding nila while inside the detention center. Gretchen.
Mon, kamusta naman yung mga yung pro-human rights groups? Are they still around? Any updates when it comes to their end of things?
Oo, yung mga kabilang side, talagang they are after na kontrahin na kaagad, no, yung mga plano ng Duterte camp in terms of filing a motion for interim release, dahil nga they fear for their safety, dahil they believe kung sakali makakabalik ng Pilipinas ang dating Pangulo, it might affect, no, yung kanilang security, magkaroon doon ng mas matinding at least parang yung emotional challenge at the same time sa mga magkakamag-anak ng mga biktima rather, dahil they still believe na makapangyarihan pa rin, ma-influensya, as they quote it, ang Duterte family, kaya ayaw nila na makabalik siya sa Pilipinas at harapin itong kaso here in The Hague, dahil naniniwala sila that crimes against humanity is an international crime that should be heard here in The Hague.
Well, while we're waiting for developments on the legal side, we are seeing a series of family reunions over there. Thank you so much, Mon Gualvez, for bringing that piece of news to us. We have him reporting live from The Hague in Netherlands. Maraming salamat. In other news, hundreds of environmental volunteers and conservationists gathered for a solidarity walk on the first day of the Masungi Nature Defense Camp. The solidarity walk and the tying of small bells on the grounds of Masungi Geo Reserve were a response to the 15-day eviction notice issued by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. The eviction notice threatens decades of conservation efforts and endangers the homes of the indigenous Dumagat Remontado people. They also called on President Bongbong Marcos and DENR to engage in constructive dialogue to reach a fair resolution for conservation efforts.
Alam mo, buhay namin yan. Kaya mawawala na rin ang tribo. Wala kami titiran, di kami sanay sa sinasabing kabayanan. Di namin alam ang buhay doon. Ang buhay talaga namin sa bundok. Kaya namin mabuhay doon. Marami dong libre. Tubig libre, pagkain. Sa mga gamot namin. Hindi namin binibili yun.
We stand our ground, no? As our legal representatives and Blue Star's legal representatives have said, they cannot enforce an eviction without going through court processes. Doing so would be illegal. No? So we hope that DNR at least opens room for dialogue and does not undertake violence or any activities that could compromise the security of the place even further.
Don't go away. We'll be back with more stories right here at Morning Matters after the break. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho, and this is Morning Matters. The death toll from the major tremor that hit Myanmar is expected to reach a 3,000 mark. Here's the report.
Rescue workers kept on searching for survivors of last week's Myanmar earthquake, 4 days on from a disaster which has killed more than 2,700 people. Myanmar's military ruler said the death toll is expected to surpass 3,000. Aid groups, meanwhile, warned the window to find survivors was fast closing. One rescuer said they could smell decaying bodies under the rubble. The United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, was shipping in aid supplies to 25,000 earthquake survivors in Myanmar. Shelter, clean water, and medicine are in short supply following Friday's earthquake. An official of the United Nations World Food Program called for more international funding to support the organization's urgent need to scale up its operation.
It's difficult. As I mentioned, we were in the process of downsizing our operation because of a lack of funding. Now, very quickly, we need to upscale. So we can only do that with funding. And ideally, we get funding for our previous operations and this additional requirement. Without that, we will struggle.
The Philippine government, for its part, has deployed a humanitarian contingent to Myanmar. The contingent consists of urban search and rescue teams from the military, as well as various public and private agencies.
With the Philippines also sitting along the Pacific Ring of Fire, how vulnerable are we to a similar disaster? To answer that and more, we have on the show geologist and disaster risk reduction expert Mahar Lagmay joining us via Zoom. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. Morning, Gretchen.
Okay, good morning. Every time, we talk, naalala ko lang, no? Laging may sakuna. Pero, these discussions have to be made. And we are seeing one of the biggest earthquakes in recent history in Myanmar being described as with words such as entire communities flattened, buildings toppled over, children and families with no homes to return to. Help us understand the extent and the gravity of the earthquake that happened over in Myanmar.
Yes, it's probably the biggest in terms of the number of casualties. But there have been bigger earthquakes that have happened elsewhere in the world. So the magnitude 7.7 earthquake that happened in Myanmar is a shallow earthquake, or was a shallow earthquake, 10 kilometers depth. And when an earthquake of such magnitude happens and it's shallow and it's near a populated area, like for example in Mandalay, there's going to be a lot of casualties that will ensue. And the earthquake that happened actually reached even Bangkok. The long wavelengths earthquake made the high-rise buildings of Thailand to sway. And even some buildings collapsed, by the way, in Bangkok.
Kumbaga parang nandito sa, kumare pagka drenowing natin, nandito sa taas yung earthquake na yon, kaya mas apektado yung nasa taas na structures. Is that correct? Are we getting that correct? Pag malalim, ano yung magiging effect nun sa movement ng tectonic plates?
So kapag yung earthquake nangyari, it releases energy. And the energy that is released is several times more powerful than releasing the energy of an atomic bomb. No? So if it happens underneath the surface of the earth, syempre magpo-propagate yung energy na yon in the form of seismic waves. Now, the nearer the source of that earthquake to a populated center, the more damaging it is. That means that if the earthquake, let's say, happened at a depth of about 400 kilometers, so malayo yun, nagdi-dissipate. If it's near the populated area, near the surface, like what happened in Myanmar, magnitude 7.7 at a depth of 10 kilometers, the source of the energy is quite near. Kumbaga nagpaputok ka ng bomba, mas malapit ka, mas tatamaan ka. Diba? Ganun lang yon. So it was a shallow earthquake near a populated center, and it devastated a lot of communities, destroyed a lot of buildings in Myanmar. Now, what happened dun sa earthquake na yon? There were some frequencies, no, some waves that traveled very far. Ito yung mga long wavelength na nire-release ng earthquake, and it traveled all the way to Bangkok, about 1,000 kilometers away. Normally mahina na dapat yun kasi parang 1,000 kilometers ang Philippines from Apari to Davao is probably about 1,200 kilometers. So medyo malayo na yon. Dapat kung nagka-earthquake kunyari sa Davao, hindi na mararamdaman masyado sa Manila. But this was quite unusual na kahit 1,000 kilometers away yung source ng earthquake, meron pa rin nangyaring devastation sa Bangkok. And it's because of the traveling of the long wavelengths na umabot hanggang Thailand.
Well, given Myanmar's location and tectonic setup, how does its earthquake risk compare to the Philippines?
Well, meron kasing I sent you some slides, by the way, if you can show it. But if not, that's fine, no? Yung India kasi has been moving northwards and colliding with Asia. It has been happening throughout Earth's history over millions of years, and because it's colliding, it developed the mountain ranges, including the Himalayas. The continued push of India and collision with Asia has generated stresses, and they get released along faults. Yung Sagaing Fault, which is the fault responsible for the earthquake, continues to move, no? And when it moved, it released that energy. In the Philippines, we also have numerous faults like the Sagaing Fault. The biggest one, for example, is the Philippine Fault, which is about 1,200 kilometers long. And we have a lot of other faults similar to Sagaing, when these faults move, they release earthquakes. They release energy in the form of earthquakes. No, pagka nangyari yon, and these earthquakes have ground shaking that can affect buildings. When a lot of buildings collapse, especially in populated areas, then the devastation can be bad, really, really bad. Sa Metro Manila, we're waiting for the big one. Sinasabi nila that in the first few minutes, 35,000 people will die. Maybe that has increased already because that's an old study. But in terms of movement, the presence of faults, yung Myanmar has that Sagaing fault, which is one of the most dangerous faults in the world. And we have faults here in the country that are also considered as extremely dangerous faults, that when they move, they can cause a lot of damage.
Okay, so yung nangyari sa Myanmar, hindi pa yan yung parang big one nila. Am I getting that correct? I mean, because it is a shallow earthquake. And also, pangalawa, go ahead.
Yung Sagaing fault since 1906 has moved 10 times na more than magnitude 6.5. No? Pag sinabi naman na big one, ibig sabihin nun, meron siyang energy na marirelease kapag gumalaw yung fault. And then when it's near a populated area, and it can cause a lot of damage, and if people are vulnerable and not prepared, it can cause a lot of deaths. No? Yun naman talaga ang essence nung ibig sabihin ng big one. That there's the presence of a fault that has this potential to create damage in a populated. That's the essence of calling a fault and an event, no, that is generated by movement of that fault, creating an earthquake that is extremely damaging.
Wait, could it be also that Myanmar's building code doesn't hold up to par? That's why it had this extensive damage?
I haven't read the building code of Myanmar, no? But I'm suspecting na ayun nga, perhaps if the building code was very good, no, up to par with international standards, it could have minimized the number of collapsed buildings and deaths. But the fault was really near the populated area. The rupture was 200 kilometers long, if I'm not mistaken, from what I read. There were a lot of aftershocks. It was shallow, and magnitude 7.7 is quite a large earthquake, no, releasing a lot of energy. So we would expect a lot of damage there in the area of especially Mandalay in that area. Well, that is something that we have to live with and have to prepare for.
Well, we hope the rescue efforts will be quick because as we are seeing in the news, the window seems to be closing. Medyo there are people buried underneath the rubble. But relating that to the Philippines, based on what you're seeing, how prepared are we? I mean, we've been talking about this year after year. Pag may nangyayaring earthquake here in the Philippines or abroad, laging na bring up the big one. Are people adjusting already? Have we adjusted our own standards?
Well, compared to 10 years ago, or maybe 2 decades ago, nakikita ko na talaga naman nagpe-prepare tayo, and the government is really putting a lot of effort in prevention and mitigation as well as preparedness. There are updates to the implementing rules and regulations of the building code. And it's important that if we follow strictly the building code, we might be able to reduce the damage or the casualties from earthquakes that threaten us constantly. Tuloy-tuloy lang, no? We are doing more preparedness measures, but again, the more effort that we put into it, the better our chances to survive.
Yung photos na pinadala nyo, mukhang ito na nahugot na namin, ano? I mean, ito yung mga mapa na sinasabi mo. Let's play it. We have we are seeing the geography of Myanmar. Mukhang
I still can't see. There you go. Okay.
hindi pa ayan, yan. So go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. That image was from Myanmar. No. What you're seeing here is the area of Mandalay where the epicenter is located. No. Nakikita niyo yung yellow, and you can see the red dots on the left panel. That's the series of earthquakes. The big circle is the main earthquake, followed by several aftershocks. And daming aftershocks. And you can see that it's very near a populated area. And the fact that it was shallow means that the source or the hypocenter, the source of the energy was very near. Now, I was talking about India colliding with China. You can see the movement of India through time several million years ago. And I think about 10 million years ago, it collided and it formed the mountain ranges, including the Himalayas. No? That's where the mountain range is. And you can see that there's a red line there showing the collision area between India and China, going roughly east-west and one going north-south through Myanmar. And you can see a circle there, which is the epicenter, which is close to the Sagaing Fault. And the movement of the Sagaing Fault was because of the collision of India and Eurasia. Now, throughout several millions of years, or hundreds of years even, because of the movement, stress is being accumulated, and that stress needs to be released. And when it's released, it's in the form of what we call as an earthquake. The energy is very, very large. It's equivalent to the detonation of several Hiroshima atomic bombs.
Okay, based on what you're seeing here in the Philippines in the recent seismic activity, do you see any risk of a major earthquake hitting the Philippines soon?
We're under constant threat from earthquakes. We should prepare. PBBM is saying that the Marikina Valley Fault has been moving several times for the past hundreds of years, and we are to expect movement soon. No? If the Marikina Valley Fault or the Valley Fault system moves, then Metro Manila is under threat because the energy or the magnitude of the earthquake that is expected is magnitude 7.2. That's quite large, and if it's going to be shallow and if it's going to be near Metro Manila, then we have to really prepare, and that is what we call as the big one. Ang payo ko lang ay sana sundin yung building code kasi the building code can mitigate the damage from that expected earthquake. And there are a lot of other faults that can move. These faults, no matter how far, based on the experience of what happened dito sa Myanmar affecting Thailand, no? Even if it's 1,000 kilometers away yung source ng earthquake, that means that we have to prepare for faults other than the Valley Fault system or the Marikina Valley Fault system.
If you are an individual, I mean, it does seem that this is over your head. I mean, talking about building codes, talking about looking into that. Paano kaya, kung ako ay nakatira sa lumang condominium, what can I do? Should I bring it up with management to check that out? Parang it does leave me a little bit helpless if it comes down to building codes. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, normally, meron naman mga permits yung mga buildings from each city sa Metro Manila. No? And that is monitored by the Office of the Building Official. Look for the permits if they have the permits on a yearly basis, and they should be complying with the building code. No? So, mino-monitor naman yan. Yung building code is supervised by the DPWH and is monitored by the LGU through the Office of the Building Official. So please look for those permits and look for the the assessment of each building, and if it needs retrofitting, then suggest that it be retrofitted according to building standards.
The big one involves the Marikina fault, right? I mean, the farther that I go from that, is it always safer? Puntahan din natin yung because you recently launched a new app for Project NOAA. I mean, if I were looking for a home to move into, do you advise me to go farther? Does it really matter if it's the big one?
Okay, meron tinatawag na magnitude and intensity, Gretchen. No? Magnitude is the energy at source. Okay? Yung intensity naman is what is felt after the earthquake, no? Or during the earthquake. So parang ilaw lang 'yan. It's like the bulb, no? Meron tayong 100 watts, meron tayong 200 watts, meron tayong 50 watts. Yun yung katumbas ng energy. The farther you go away from the bulb, no, the lit bulb, the less the intensity is. Okay. So, mas malayo ka doon sa source nung possible source nung earthquake, mas mahina ang mas mararamdaman mo. But within Metro Manila, nakikita ko doon sa mga studies na even if you're within mas malayo ka, for example 1.5 or more kilometers from the Valley Fault system, yung effects nun in terms of intensity would be the same kung nanggaling yung earthquake sa Marikina Fault, no? Pag within Quezon City. Pero of course merong variations depende kung ano yung nasa ilalim, if it's adobe or if it's loose sand and gravel. Like for example, if you're living in near the coastal areas of Manila. So doon nagkakaiba-iba, no? Yun ang importanteng malaman. But again, it all boils down to a structure na kapag tinayo, dapat wala on top of the fault. And two, it can withstand ground shaking. And yung pag-withstand ng ground shaking na yon is actually the concern of the building code. So if you follow the building code, you have better chances of that building not collapsing.
Okay, you have a new app, as I mentioned. What can we see there in the new Project NOAA app?
Pangbaha yun.
Pangbaha yun, hindi pang earthquake.
It's not for earthquake, pangbaha yun. But anyway, we released the NOAA app for iOS. You can download it for free. You can use it for your iPhone or iPad or MacBook. We released that also yung Android version a month ago. So pwede nyo na. The flood maps are there. You can see other features. It can be useful in saving your loved ones' lives. Even your life, if you love yourself.
Well, as we are constantly facing disaster, that will be tremendous help. Pero sana, sa sunod pating earthquake, meron na din para isang app lang pupuntahan, diba? Okay,
although we're doing something about earthquakes, we've been creating shake tables, and we're looking also at seismic building instrumentation. Meron kasing requirements sa building code na kailangan merong mga seismometers or accelerographs sa buildings. We've been looking at the data that has been collected over a decade. And mukhang merong magagandang mga naiintindihan natin na bago, no? Yung response ng buildings sa mga earthquakes, particularly the Batangas earthquake, the Zambales earthquake, the Abra earthquake. And it's really going to be used to improve the building code.
All right, maraming salamat. Thank you so much for explaining things to us and giving us the context of the Myanmar earthquake that just hit. Maraming salamat. We have Dr. Mahar Lagmay on the show.
Maraming salamat din. Thank you for inviting.
Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching Morning Matters. I'm Gretchen Ho. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has issued a show cause order to Gabriel Go, head of its Special Operations Group Strike Force, following his actions during a clearing operation on March 25. The controversy stemmed from a viral video wherein Go was seen berating a Quezon City police officer for illegal parking. In a statement, MMDA Chairman Attorney Don Artes emphasized the agency's commitment to accountability and due process. The MMDA has also reached out to the Philippine National Police and other agencies to ensure coordination and prevent further tensions. To further discuss this matter and other pressing issues, we are joined by Senator J.V. Ejercito on the show. Good morning to you, Senator.
Yes, Gretchen, good morning. Good morning to all your televiewers. Ganda umaga sa inyo lahat.
Okay, Senator, binatikos niyo po itong nangyari dito kay Gabriel Go at sa isang pulis na si Man Felipe of the Quezon City Police District Police Captain. This isn't the first time that the Gabriel went viral or has been posting videos of clearing operations. Ano po yung masasabi niyo dito sa incidenting ito? Is this distinct, clearly distinct? And wasn't he on his regular clearing operations?
Well, Gretchen, I was also a former mayor and I understand the challenges of every day of putting order, especially in Metro Manila. Napakahirap talaga niyan. Yung enforcement, marami rin talagang pasaway sa kalye, and I experienced all of those when I was mayor. But ito pong kay Gabriel Go, when I saw it's not, as you mentioned, it's not the first time, yung sa police officer, what really the police officer was already apologetic, and yet he was still berating him. But Gretchen, yung two other videos that I saw were about two senior citizens, dalawang matanda, na tumirik yung sasakyan nila, and then it was towed, it was supposed to be towed, hindi naman niya kasalanan. But for me, Gretchen, enforcement is really, I appreciate his passion for enforcing the laws and order in Metro Manila, but a little bit of humanity would not hurt, lalo na po yung na ko doon sa matanda na tumirik dahil yung baterya, so nakaharang yung L300, and yet tinuluyan pa rin niya. Sa akin, di ba, paano kung tatay mo yun? Lagay niya sa sarili niya yung sarili, di ba? I commend his passion, but I think it has to be with proper decorum and proper approach, Gretchen. I think he wants to be like Colonel Bong Nebria. But Colonel Bong Nebria, I remember, has the stature, be a mayor, a colonel, and he knows what he is saying. Hindi ganyan yung approach niya. So, sa akin na, I am hoping that Mr. Go would try to improve next time yung kanyang approach po. I commend his passion, but I think he doesn't, power doesn't have to go into your head. I've been there also, being a former mayor, I understand the challenges. Gotcha.
Are you calling for calm and composure? And speaking of the processes in doing that, is it legal to be actually videoing an operation? I mean, this is MMDA, this is not police operation. Pero meron po ba tayong batas tungkol doon o meron po tayong regulations tungkol doon na nagla-live yung mismong authority involved?
Well, I think, Gretchen, that's the also it plays a vital a crucial role, yung alam mo naman tayo, even politicians for that matter, pag merong camera, iba na yung action, di ba? Pag naka-live tayo. So, that's also one thing with Mr. Go. Ano bang gusto niya? Maging vlogger ba siya or to enforce the laws, Because Gretchen, we have to be realistic about it, that if it's live, you really behave differently. Kumbaga, you are for the views, You are conscious of your audience. No? So, yun lang. Dapat pag-aralan din po niyan ni MMDA Chair whether itong pag-video on operations would be allowed because I don't think it is effective, no? Maaaring nagkakaroon siya ng funds, kung akala niya nagkaka-funds siya, but I think it's ano minsan tulad nga yun, as I mentioned earlier, Gretchen, those two old senior citizens that he accosted, na tinuluyan niya, no, parang no one is above the law for him kahit na matanda ka, pero a little bit of humanity, masakit masakit sa puso panoorin, tao pa rin pa naman tayo, Gretchen.
On the other hand, it can be argued that it does promote transparency over the operation. Itong video na to mukhang galing din sa kanila, no? Pero on the other hand naman, you are also putting in public private individuals. So I think that's a good thing to look into. But the Gabriel Go has said that he has an intention to visit Napolcom. Nangyari po ba yung meeting na yon? Parang he was on his way and there was an apology expected. What do you know of that?
From what I heard from Commissioner Ralph Calinisan that one apology would have settled all the issues. So I really don't know. Probably it did not push through, no, Gretchen. That's what the last thing I heard from Commissioner Ralph Calinisan.
Well, Police Captain Man Felipe of the QCPD is expected to file a case for violation of the Data Privacy Act against MMDA official Gabriel Go. That is the latest on that. But let's go on to other matters. Speaking of videos, nakita rin natin yung video nung road rage sa Marilaki Highway nung isang araw. I mean, this isn't the first time that we're seeing that happen. Pero kayo, madalas po kayo, kasama rin kayo doon sa motorcade, doon sa Marilaki Highway. Madalas ba nangyayari yung ganito? Kasi may nakita ko sa comments na mayroon talaga doon na parang nagka-cut ng mga lane ng sasakyan. I mean, what information have you gotten from your own circle of riders in Marilaki Highway about what happened?
Well, Gretchen, parang yung mga road rage cases have been happening frequently recently. Probably it's because of the weather also, no? Napakainit talaga ngayon. In fact, ako I refrain from riding right now from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock, no? Napakainit. Probably it has some effect to the attitude of riders and also drivers, no? So hindi lang naman riders, no? Pati yung drivers din. So ang sa akin lang payo ko, being a rider myself, I drive also, being a cyclist myself, a little bit of patience, no? Yung kumbaga, hinga na malalim muna bago gumawa na, it will, kasi kung pairali natin yung init na ulo, it will lead to further problems, no? And itong video that you're talking about, the shooting incident, unfortunately, nagkaroon na shooting incident of the guy who was driving a Fortuner. Parang it's just a simple, nagkatama kaya, Gretchen, nagkagitan lang yan. Kaya lang, I think both were at fault, no? Na sana pinalagpas na lang nila, no? Sana wala nangyari ganito. Naghabulan pa, no? So both sides, and then tumigil, yun nga lang, gun ban ngayon, hindi siya dapat if you have a weapon, you have to think twice. Dapat for self-defense lang talaga yan. It's never really intended to harm anybody. So I sympathize with the riders. Pero sayang, no? Itong nagda-drive ng Fortuner, the businessman. Kawawa yung anak niya, even his wife, no? Who was hit. So a little bit of patience is needed, especially at this time, Gretchen. No? Ako rider ako, I understand the predicament of riders, especially in this heat right now. Talaga napakahirap din.
Actually, nakapagtataka yan kasi pag dinadaanan natin yung lugar na yan, malawak yan. So, walang masyadong traffic along that bend. Pagkatapos ng buso-buso, masarap nga mag-ride dyan no? So, nakapagtataka talaga bakit nagkagit-gitan pa dito. But do you think we have enough teeth in the law to actually stop these events from happening? Yung ganyan na I mean, syempre road rage, hindi naman inaasahan, uminit lang yung ulo. Pero pati yung mga pag-video, katulad nung Superman, yung nagsusuperman stunt dyan sa Marilaki Highway. How are our motorcycle legislation or our laws like? Do we have enough teeth in the law to punish acts like these?
I think, Gretchen, we have enough laws, no? It's just a matter of enforcement. Like yung sa Marilake, as you mentioned, I'm sure you're familiar with that. Yeah, you are correct, no? That is a wide lane, no? Maganda, enough room for everybody. And Marilake is it's the Rizal's top tourist drawer, no? Kasi napakaganda dyan, nice views, nice coffee shops and everything. Unfortunately, the past few years, some, hindi naman lahat ng riders, so there are some, yung mga pasaway na who are performing stunts, who are trying to make using Marilaki as a racetrack, which should not be. That's why, Gretchen, a few months ago, together with the riding community, with Kuya Kim and others, with the PNP, we had make Marilaki safe ride again. No? But right now, I would like to commend the HPG, the Police Provincial Office of Rizal, and the LGUs now for enforcing order in Marilaki. And they have been manning checkpoints right now. So at least now, I'm hoping that we can make Marilaki really safe again. Kasi sayang yung Gretchen, yung mga coffee shops, pop-up coffee shops, restaurants. And a lot of families go there really. Couples, families, really to enjoy the views. No? So I'm hoping that mawala na talaga itong mga pasaway. As a rider myself, I'm appealing to them not to make or treat Marilaki as a racetrack. Meron tayong racetrack, hindi yan racetrack. No? We have to enjoy the views and respect each other. Respect the riders, respect the drivers, and especially the families that are going there.
Maybe more police force, constant presence of police would help. Tama po kayo, no, dun sa kung saan nangyari yung Superman stunt, ay pinagbawal na yung pagtambay dun sa may Manukan, malapit lang doon. At saka, ngayon nakikita natin, pero syempre there are concerns over how long this could actually last. Diba?
Again, Gretchen, I think it's also yung mga naging dyan, yung naging practice because there are a lot of camera, yung mga photographers in those areas. So, yung mga riders na iba, they're performing their stunts or trying to show their skills kasi nga for the views din. So, yun din ang naging problema dyan. It's for the views. Pag may camera talaga, nag-iiba yung behavior ng tao eh. So, yan yung mga sigurong pagbawalan na because it's not doing the riding community or the motorists any good, Gretchen.
The landscape is definitely changing from police or MMDA operations moving over to motorcycle stunts in Marilaki Highway. Very, very performative. It does make you that way, but mga bagong problema no, na kailangan tignan dahil na rin sa pag-usbong ng teknolohiya. Meanwhile, maraming salamat po. Marami pa tayong tatanungin pero wala tayong oras. Sa susunod na lang po, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Ingat lagi sa ride. Senator J.V. Harris ito on Morning Matters. And that's it for today's episode of Morning Matters. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.